Shabbat Shalom, family. How is everybody? Hope you're enjoying your Sabbath. So today I thought I would read something for the ladies because I understand how easy it is for I understand how what this world has done to me, what it does to us guys. And sometimes we have to understand what it does to the women as well. So instead of beating them down, not a lot of people speak for the women, and there's a lot in this Bible for the women. I understand sometimes I have a bit of a poke, but in the end, never forget to lift people up and show them that they're important as well. So let's edify the ladies today. All right, let's get into it. Straight in. 1 Samuel 25. Now Samuel died, and all the Israelites assembled and mourned for him, and buried him at his house at Ramah. David arose and went to the wilderness of Paran. A very rich man in Maon, whose possessions and businesses were in Carmel. He had 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats, and he was shearing his sheep in Carmel. The man's name was Nabal, and his wife's name was Abigail. She was a woman of good understanding and beautiful, but the man was rough and evil in his doings. He was a Calebite. David heard in the wilderness that Nabal was shearing his sheep, and David sent out 10 young men and said to them, "Go up to Carmel to Nabal and greet him in my name, and salute him thus: Peace be to you, and to your house, and to all that you have. I have heard that you have shearers. Now your shepherds have been with us, and we did them no harm, and they missed nothing all the time that they were in Carmel. Ask your young men, and they will tell you. Therefore, let my young men find favor in your sight, for we come at an opportune time. I pray you give whatever you have at hand to your servants and to your son David." And when David's young men came, they said all this to Nabal in the name of David, and then paused. And Nabal answered David's servants and said, "Who is this David? Who is the son of Jesse? There are many servants nowadays who are each breaking away from his master. Shall I then take my bread and my water and my meat that I have killed for my shearers and give it to them, and give it to men when I do not know where they belong?" You see, let me carry on. So David's young men turned away and came and told him all that was said. And David said to his men, "Every man gird his sword." And they did so. And David also girded his sword. And there went up after David about 400 men, and 200 remained with the baggage. So this guy, he's rich, he's successful, he's king of his own castle, master of his own destiny, totally ignorant to kingdom work. He doesn't care because he's made it. Sound familiar? Sounds very familiar, doesn't it? He has no regard for kingdom business. And you see, David and his men, they've been fighting wars. It's like, where does this man live? Does he not know what's been going on? When I think about these things, I was thinking, does he live inland far away from the border where all the wars are happening, all the battles. And he doesn't realize that David's been saving him. David and his men, all men of war, all the mighty men, have been saving him from all the neighboring nations who would, if it wasn't for David, they would take over and steal all his riches, his 3,000 sheep and his 1,000 goats. And he's got no regard whatsoever. He's just ignorant because, he's a rich man. He has everything around him. Now it's time for him to give back. Have some respect. This is kingdom work that's being done. The army is in need. But Abigail, who was a good woman of understanding, and sometimes us guys, we have to, let's just say, sometimes we don't make this life, this walk, the way sound appealing to women. Some guys, when they're bringing out the word, we hammer the women too much, and we turn them the opposite way. They make them reject these scriptures and not want to live this lifestyle. It's tough, I understand, but you know how people are today. People are stubborn. If you try to beat something into someone, they're going to go in the exact opposite direction. So David's girded up his sword, taking 400 men with him, and he's going after Nabal, who's been incredibly insolent. So 14, 1 Samuel 25:14. But one of Nabal's young men told Abigail, Nabal's wife, "Behold, David sent messengers out of the wilderness to salute our master, and he railed at them. But David's men were very good to us, and we were not harmed, nor did we miss anything as long as we went with them when we were in the fields. They were a wall to us at night and day, and all the time we were with them, keeping the sheep. So know this and consider what you will do, for evil is determined against our master and all his house, for he is such a wicked man that one cannot speak to him." So, as you know, we're men, we want to go back to the old ways and blah blah blah. And a woman must be led by the man, and such and such and such and such, and you have to obey your husband, and da da da, and blah blah blah. But what if your husband is a fool? He's a man of Belial. He's a wicked man. For he is such a wicked man that one cannot speak to him. But Abigail was a good woman of understanding. Then Abigail made haste and took 200 loaves, 2 skins of wine, 5 sheep already dressed, 5 measures of parched grain, 100 clusters of raisins, and 200 cakes of figs, and laid them on donkeys. And she said to her servants, Go on before me, behold, I come after you. But she did not tell her husband Nabal. And she rode on her donkey. She came down hidden by the mountain. And behold, David and his men went down opposite her, and she met them. Now David had said, Surely in vain have I protected all that this fellow has in the wilderness, so that nothing was missed of all that belonged to him. And he has repaid me evil for good. May God do so. and more also to David. May God do so, and more also to David, if I leave all who belong to him, one male alive by morning. When Abigail saw David, she hastened and lighted off the donkey, and fell before David on her face, and did obeisance, kneeling at his feet, and said, Upon me alone let this guilt be, my lord, and let your handmaid, I pray you, speak in your presence, and hear the words of your handmaid. Let not my lord, I pray you, regard this foolish and wicked fellow Benal. For as his name is, so is he. Nabal, foolish and wicked, is his name, and folly is with him. But I, your handmaid, did not see my lord's young men when whom you sent. So now, my lord, as the Lord lives, and as your soul lives, seeing that the Lord has prevented you from blood guiltiness, and from avenging yourself with your own hand, let your enemies and those who seek to do evil to you, my lord, be as Nabal. And now this gift which your handmaid has brought, my lord, let it be given to the young men who follow my lord. Forgive, I pray you, and forgive, I pray you, the trespass of your handmaid, for the Father will certainly take my lord a sure house, because my lord is fighting the Father's battles, and evil has not been found in all your days. Though man is risen up to pursue you and to seek your life, yet the life of my Lord shall be bound in the living bundle of the Father, your Elohim. And the lives of your enemies, them shall he sling out, as out of the center of a sling. And when the Father has done to my Lord according to all the good that he has promised concerning you, and has made you ruler over all Israel, this shall be no staggering grief to you, or cause of pangs of conscience to my Lord, either that you have shed blood without cause, or that my Lord has avenged himself. And when the Father has dealt well with my Lord, then earnestly remember your handmaid. And David said to Abigail, Blessed be the Father, Elohim of Israel, who sent you this day to meet me. And blessed be your discretion and advice, and blessed be you who have kept me today from blood guiltiness, and from avenging myself with my own hand. For as the Father, Elohim of Israel, lives, who has prevented me from hurting you, if you had not hurried and came to meet me, surely by morning there would have been left so much as not one male by Nabal. So David accepted what she had brought him. And said to her, Go up in peace to your house. See, I have hearkened to your voice, and have granted your petition. And Abigail came to Nabal, and behold, he was holding a feast in his house, like the feast of a king. And his heart was merry, for he was very drunk. So she told him nothing at all until the morning light. But in the morning, when the wine was gone out of Nabal, and his wife told him these things, his heart died within him, and he became paralyzed, helpless as a stone. And about 10 days after that, the Father smote Nabal, and he died. When David heard that Nabal was dead, he said, Blessed be the Father, who has pleaded the cause of my reproach and at the hand of Nabal, and has kept his servant from evil. For the Father has returned the wickedness of Nabal upon his own head. And David sent and communed with Abigail to take her. And David sent and communed with Abigail to take her to him as his wife. And when the servants of David had come to Abigail at Carmel, they said to her, David has sent us to you to take you to him to be his wife. And she arose and bowed herself to the earth and said, Behold, let your handmaid be a servant to wash the feet of your servants of my Lord. And Abigail hastened and arose and rode on a donkey with 5 of her maids who followed her. And she went after the messengers of David and became his wife. David also took Ahinoam of Jezreel, and they both became his wives. Saul had given Michal, his daughter, David's wife, and Phalti, son of Laish, who was of Galim. So she totally disobeyed her husband. She just went above his head because the kingdom came first. She knew he was being foolish, selfish, all self-serious, disrespectful, and insolent. David saw a good woman. He saw she was a woman of understanding and took her to wife. So let's move on to 2 Samuel. 2 Samuel 20. Here we go. So 2 Samuel 20. There happened to be a base and contemptible fellow named Sheba, the son of Bichri, a Benjamite. He blew a trumpet and said, We have no portion in David, and no inheritance in the son of Jesse. Every man to his tent, O Israel. So all the men of Israel withdrew from David and followed Sheba, son of Bichri. But the men of Judah stayed faithfully with their king from the Jordan to Jerusalem. So David came to his house at Jerusalem, and the king took the 10 women, his concubines, whom he had left to keep the house, and put them away under guard and provided for them, but did not go in to them. So they were shut up to the day of their death, living in widowhood. Then said the king of Amasa, Assemble the men of Judah to me within 3 days, and you be present here. So Amasa went to assemble the men of Judah, but he tarried longer than the set time which had been appointed to him. And David said to Abishai, Now will Sheba, son of Bichri, do us more harm than Absalom did? Take your Lord's servants and pursue him, lest he get for himself fenced cities and snatch away our very eyes. And there went after him Joab's men and David's bodyguards and the Cherethites and Pelethites and all the mighty men. They went out from Jerusalem to pursue Sheba of Bichri, son of Bichri. When they were at the great stone of Gibeon, Amasa came to meet them. Joab was wearing a soldier's garment over it, and was a sheet, and with a sorry. When they were at the great stone in Gibeon, Amasa came to meet them. Joab was wearing a soldier's garment, and over it was a sheathed sword fastened around his hips, and as he went forward, it fell out. Joab said to Amasa, "Are you well, my brother?" And Joab took Amasa by the beard and with the right hand, as if to kiss him. But Amasa did not notice the sword of Joab's hand. Sorry, as you can tell, always, I'm a bit rusty. I need to just get back into the swing of things. I'll get there. When they were at the great stone in Gibeon, Amasa came to meet them. Joab was wearing a soldier's garment, and over it was a sheathed sword fastened around his hips, and as he went forward, it fell out. Joab said to Amasa, "Are you well, my brother?" And Joab took Amasa by the beard with the right hand, as if to kiss him. But Amasa did not notice the sword in Joab's hand, so Joab struck him, who was to have been his successor, with it in the body, shedding his bowels to the ground without another blow. And soon he died. So Joab and Abishai, his brother, pursued Sheba, son of Bichri. And one of Joab's men stood by him and said, "Whoever favors Joab and is for David, follow Joab." And Amasa wallowed in his blood in the highway. And when the man saw that all the people who came by stood still, he removed Amasa out of the highway into the field and spread a cloth over him. When Amasa was removed from the highway, all the people went out on after Joab to pursue Sheba, son of Bichri. Joab went through all the tribes of Israel to Abel of Beth Machah, and all the Berites assembled, and also went after Sheba ardently. And they came and besieged Sheba in Abel of Beth Machah. And they cast up a siege mound against the city, and it stood against the rampart. And all the men of Joab battered and undermined the wall to make it fall. Then a wise woman of the city cried, "Here, here! Say to Joab, 'Come here, so I can speak to him.'" And when he came to her, the woman said, "Are you Joab?" And he said, "I am." Then she said to him, "Hear the words of your handmaid." He answered her, "I am listening." Then she said, "People used to say, 'Let them but ask counsel at Abel.' And so they settled the matter. I am one of the peaceable and faithful in Israel. You seek to destroy a city which is a mother of Israel. Will you swallow up the inheritance of the father?" Joab answered, far be it from me that I should swallow up or destroy. This is not true, but a man of the hill country of Ephraim, Sheba, son of Bichri, has lifted up his hand against King David. Deliver him only, and I will depart from the city." And the woman said, "Behold, his head shall be thrown over the wall." Then the woman, in her wisdom, went to all the people, and they cut off the head of Sheba, son of Bichri, and cast it down to Joab. So he blew the trumpet, and they retired from the city, every man to his own home. And Joab returned to Jerusalem to the king. Joab was over the host of Israel. Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, was over the king's bodyguards, and the Cherethites and the Pelethites. Adoram was over the tribute. Jehoshaphat, son of Ahilud, was recorder. Sheva was scribe, and Zodok and Abithar were the priests. Also Ira the Jairite was chief master to David. Very wise women. See, where are all the men during all that? None of the men chose to stand up to. They actually went with him, with Sheba, to stand against David. It took a woman to go around, take counsel, explain to everyone in that city, look, David's out there. David's out there with his men. These guys stand against him. They've split the army, and now they've come to deal with him. They're going to sack the whole city. So for his rebellion, he paid for it. He paid for it. It's very important. Very, very important. These are women of understanding. They understood the ways of the kingdom. They understood the hierarchy. They understood the work that David had done. They understood the anointing. They were grateful. They understood who the king was. Of course, there's other men throughout the kingdom who believe that they should be someone. But the Most High chooses who he chooses. And the most important thing is to stick together as one kingdom. So, I just want to finish on this, an excerpt from First Esdras. I love things like this because it's so true, and it's like the wisdom. And as you're growing up and recognizing, as you grow up as a man, as you grow up in the scriptures, you take these things, you understand these things. As we're understanding now, choose your woman wisely. Once you have chose your woman wisely, listen to her. She may see things at a different angle. She may have heard something. There might be chatter among the women, which you may need to take into account. She may have had a very wise father from a great family. There's a story, where is it? Is it in Numbers? I can't remember where it is, but there's one family, Barzillai, where he only had daughters, and the daughter married a guy. Because that family was quite a prominent family, one of the daughters married another man from a different family, but the man took on the name of the father. The daughter didn't take on the name of that man. He took on the name of the father of the house of Barzillai, to keep the name, that great name going. It was more important. Imagine the stick that guy must have taken for taking the name of the daughter. But there's purpose, there's reason. Sometimes we have to put our male pride aside. Now so finish up on this as excerpt from 1 Esdras 4. So three of the king's guards, they're trying to win the king's favor. So they're all writing down what's strongest, using their wisdom. What do they think is more important? What's strongest? And one of the guys writes this. Then the third, who had spoken of women and truth. And this was Zerubbabel, began to speak. Gentlemen, is not the king great? Is not the king great? And are there not men many? And aren't... sorry, let me start again. Gentlemen, is not the king great? And are not men many? And is not wine strong? Who is it then that rules them, or has the mastery over them? Is it not women? Women gave birth to the king and to every people that rules over sea and land. From women they came, and women brought up the very men who plant vineyards from which wine comes from. Women make men's clothes. They bring men glory. Men cannot exist without women. If men gather gold and silver or any other beautiful thing, and then see a woman lovely in appearance and beauty, they let all those things go and gape at her. and and with open mouths stare at her, and all prefer her to gold or silver or any other beautiful thing. A man leaves his own father who brought him up and his own country and clings to his wife. With his wife he ends his days, with no thought of his father or his mother or his country. Therefore you must realize that women rule over you. Do you not labor and toil and bring everything and give it to women? A man takes his sword and goes out to travel and to rob and to steal and to sail the seas and rivers. He faces lions and he walks in darkness. And when he steals and robs and plunders, he brings it back to the woman he loves. A man loves his wife more than his father and his mother. Many men have lost their minds because of women and have become slaves because of them. Many have perished or stumbled or sinned because of women. And now, do you not believe me? Is not the king in his power? Do not all lands fear to touch him? Yet I have seen him with Apame, the king's concubine, the daughter of the illustrious Barticus. She would sit at the king's right hand and take the crown from the king's head and put it on her own and slap the king with her left hand. At this, the king would gaze at her with mouth agape. If she smiles at him, he laughs. If she loses her temper with him, he flatters her, so that she may be reconciled to him. Gentlemen, why are not women strong, since they do such things? The king and the nobles looked at one another, and he again began to speak about truth. I'll save that for another sermon. But basically, he wins the king's favor from that wisdom, for what he says about who is strongest and what he speaks about truth. So I'll skip that bit about truth because I'm going to save it for another one. And then the king says to him, "Ask what you wish, even beyond what is written, and we will give it to you. For you have been found to be the wisest. You shall sit next to me and be called my kinsman." Then he said to the king, "Remember the vow that you have made on the day when you became king to build Jerusalem, and to send back all the vessels that were taken from Jerusalem, which Cyrus set apart when he began. But to destroy Babylon, when he began to destroy Babylon and vowed to send them back there, you also vowed to build the temple which the Edomites burned when Judea was laid waste by the Chaldeans. And now, O Lord, the King, this is what I ask in request of you, and this befits your greatness. I pray therefore that you fulfill the vow whose fulfillment you vowed to the King of the heaven with your own lips. Then King Darius got up and kissed him and wrote letters for him to all the treasurers and the governors and generals and satraps, that they should give safe conduct to him and to all who were going up with him to build Jerusalem. And he wrote letters to all the governors of Coelesyria and Phoenicia and those in Lebanon, to bring cedar and timber from Lebanon and Jerusalem and to help him build the city. He wrote on behalf of all the Jews who were going up from this kingdom to Judea in the interest of their freedom, that no officer or satrap or governor or treasurer should forcibly enter their doors, that all the country that they would occupy should be theirs with tribute, that the Idumeans should give up their villages of the Jews that they held, that 20 talents a year should be given for the building of the temple until the temple was completed. An additional 10 talents a year was burnt offerings and offerings and altars, and everything was decreed basically back for the great work. So when that guy won the bet with the soldiers, I'm wisest, the king has given me favor, he used it for the kingdom and said, you promised that we could do this great work and rebuild the temple and have our own city and go back to the kingdom. The king promised, since you were the wisest, what do you wish for? The king said to him, ask what you wish, even beyond what is written, and we will give it to you. He didn't be selfish and say, give me a great name and a robe and a place at your courts. He had his mind focused on family, future. The kingdom. He used that. And the wise women had their minds focused on family, future, the children, the kingdom. They respected it. They understood. They were women of understanding.